Hi.
It's a new week and we have new games, new free games for Epic.
Well, you said games.
Usually it's games.
Yes.
This time it's only one.
That's right.
And I do realize that Epic releases a lot of like old looking games, like old school. And this is one of it.
Yes, it is.
This is very old school.
No other way to say it. Yeah.
It's like gratitude to 8 or 16-bit games. So this is a really nostalgic game for some older players, but it might be even interesting for a new players that never played the old games because they are maybe too young.
It might be.
Because it feels like an old game. It looks like it.
Yeah. I mean, okay, it was made much more recently, but it is an old game. There's nothing about it that needs to be made.
There's very little dialogues.
Yeah.
I like that because
the dialogue is all text.
Yeah. The dialogues, sometimes it's funny.
Yeah.
And there are some like things only the players of the old games would understand, which is fine.
Yeah.
It's interesting. And you play as ninja. And the game is called The
Messenger. Yeah, and spoiler alert, you are the messenger.
Yeah, something
like that.
Called the messenger. Yeah. So, what do you think about the game?
Straight to the point, huh?
Yeah, how would you describe it?
Well, the first thing I would do to describe it is say, it's very retro. It's a platformer. It's in the tradition of late 80s, early 90s platformers.
It starts very slow, like in a way of the difficulty.
Yeah.
It's kind of easy at the beginning.
I want to know what you thought of this, because I really appreciated how easy it was to start, and that it started out being very simple in the beginning. I would say the learning curve is very gentle, and so I got quite a few hours in before it really started getting hard. But by that time, I feel like I knew the mechanics, I knew what I could do, compared to Celeste or even the End is Nigh or other games we've played that are very difficult from the beginning. This was pretty easy to get into. Like
as you said, it's going like from low to the high difficulty, and when you are playing for some hours, it's going to get difficult. And even more difficult, and there are really actually cool bosses there.
Yeah, they each have their own character. You have to adapt to them in different ways. It's necessary to die many times to learn their movements and to learn their special abilities to be able to defeat them. But I would say at least most of the bosses that I faced, I felt that it was quite possible to defeat them. I just had to master the right mechanic to be able to defeat them. And there's a nice little feeling of satisfaction. So yeah.
And the game has something that the old games usually didn't have, and that's like the progression in the character, meaning that you get new skills like a few hours later, or you can actually upgrade your character.
There is actually a skill tree.
Yeah.
The skill tree I didn't find to be that useful. It's the most minimal skill tree I've ever seen. Yeah. But that's so I wouldn't say that you have a lot of choice, but as the game goes on, you are automatically given additional things like a wingsuit or the ability to hang onto the walls.
Something that you actually need for another.
So the way you play the game and think about the game keeps changing. Which I think keeps it from getting boring. Like for me, a lot of platformers, they introduce the mechanics very quickly. The game gets more and more difficult, but the mechanics don't change. And this one, the mechanics really change, and it gets more complex the way you play it. So this was well managed, I think.
I think sometimes there are even like a little bit more ways that you can go, or definitely more ways that you can beat the boss. Because sometimes you can really find like a specific time at when the boss is very vulnerable. So that was really
even
cool.
The fact that you don't need to kill the enemies. Well, the boss you have to kill to progress, but
Yeah.
all the other enemies you don't need to kill them to progress.
Yeah.
If you can find ways to kind of bounce around or use the wingsuit to avoid the enemies, you can just pass on to the next screen without killing anyone. So,
But what's very old school is the respawning of the enemies. Like when you actually imagine you climb up and you fall down, the enemies respawns immediately. So it's like that. I don't know if you never played the old school game. I think this would be like a good entry game for exploring the old school game.
So you think if someone has never played like a retro,
if you never played it, I think this is the
this could be their entry into the retro game environment. That's a bold claim because if someone has if they didn't play older games and there's no sense of nostalgia, it's very difficult to get someone into the retro genre.
I cannot say that for sure because I've played the old games, but I have a feeling that this is a good game for the beginners.
I'm trying to decide if I agree. I see your point.
Because it starts slow.
This is the big thing.
The graphic is like old but kind of nice still.
The environments change a lot. Very quickly also. Yeah.
And there's like multiple ways you can play it, so yeah.
But I think the main thing is the learning curve, that in the beginning it's just fun. It's actually, it feels a bit simple actually, but it's fun enough that it keeps you interested, and then it gets more and more challenging. I think this learning curve is the best designed part of the game. That I think maybe you're right that I'm not a big fan of retro games. I've said this before. But this one, when I saw it, I expected to dislike it, but I didn't dislike it. I found it enjoyable.
Yeah, it's sometimes a little bit silly, but it's like fun game.
Yeah.
But really, like if you want to finish it, it's really gonna be hard.
It gets
so hard.
It gets hard
because like first hour I died like 3 times, and after 4 hours, the 5th hour I died like 60 times. So
it gets pretty.
I didn't finish the game, but let me tell you, I died like 106 times. So that should give you a good idea that I get pretty far.
And sometimes the save point is pretty far behind.
That's why I so much.
I might have preferred it if there were more save points that you don't need.
But it's kind of logical. Like you start the game and like you need to learn it first, and then it's get more challenging. So yeah.
It's true, but we've talked about this before. A game can be challenging without forcing you to repeat things that you've already overcome. So there were a few things like in this game where there was a save point, and then maybe 4 or 5 screens later there was a very difficult place that I couldn't figure out how to pass it, and I died many times. And every time I had to go back past those previous screens, and I don't find that necessary to make the game challenging. You can have the same save point more often.
This is again something that the old games had.
They were more punishing.
So
it's true.
They were more punishing, but I would still say the difficulty is a little bit lower, even further in the game than like Celeste or...
Yeah, it could be worse. Yeah. There could be much fewer save points. It wasn't too bad. I would still say it's pretty user-friendly. And
there's one specialty about the game, and that is like after 5 hours of the gameplay, the game actually changes from the 8-bit to 16-bit. Do you know what it means actually? The difference between 8-bit games and 16-bit games?
I mean, I hear it a lot, but I wouldn't.
It's basically like the system with Nintendo NES and the SNES.
Sure, that makes it clear.
No,
go on.
It's about the color of the palette. Yeah. The 16-bit, it sounds like it's bigger, so it's more.
So there's twice as many colors.
More colorful. The music instruments are different, so like better music and like other things, like more objects on the more moving objects on the screen. Things like you can really spot the difference when you enter the game, like let's say the second state of the game.
So it transitions from being a tribute to NES games and switch it to being a tribute to SNES games. Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting because when you first start playing the game, you're gonna say like, the creators did this graphic because they were lazy, because it's easy to do this graphic, but then it actually changes into something nicer. So it was really, the idea was making it an old school game.
Is this little change, do you think this is really a, sorry for the phrase, a game changer? Does this bring a lot of value to the game?
It looks like a different game, but it doesn't. It looks like it almost looks like the second game of the same game. It could be like
a
the
sequel.
first one and the second one. I don't see why not.
But the mechanics and the way of playing is the same. Okay. Well, do you think people should play it?
I think you should. Either you played it, old school games, or not, you should, because as I said, I think it could be good if you want to try old school game. If you don't want to, you don't like the graphic, you don't have to. I don't blame you.
Yeah.
But for me, I would recommend this game.
For me, a little bit different. I'm positive about it. I enjoyed the time that I spent on it. But for me, it's a retro platformer and nothing too special. I would say if you like platformers, this is a great example of the genre. You will enjoy this as much as other good platformers.
It's not too deep, but it's quite long.
Yeah, and it gets quite challenging, I would say. I don't think I would say that this is the game to get you interested in platformers or retro games for the first time. I wouldn't go that far. But it's true that if you're curious about the genre and you're thinking about trying it for the first time, the entry-level difficulty of this could make it a very easy game to start with and see if you like the genre.
So do you recommend or not?
I would say I have to split. If you're a fan of the genre, yes, absolutely. If you're not a fan of the genre, I don't think that this game will be worth your time. So maybe.
If you like what you see behind us, like the actual gameplay, and it looks interesting to you, you should try it.
Yeah.
Because it's free this week.
That's right.
So you should try it.
It delivers what it promises. What you see is what you get, and it's a good example of that. And it's free. Click on it, add it to your library, give it a try for a few minutes, because even if you're not a big fan, Epic Game Store still pays the developers, and we should support developers because they put a lot of work into these games.
And if you don't like what you see behind us, you should still subscribe to us, because there's going to be another one or maybe more free games every week. So you don't want to miss that.
Next week could be completely different.
Hopefully not old school. We'll see. We'll see.
There's been a lot of old school games recently, but we'll see. Everyone, thanks for watching. Share this video, comment, subscribe to us, and we will see you in the next video.
See you next time.